Hi, my name is Maeve Casey, and I'm going to be doing my final paper presentation on Black stereotypes in global media. For my introduction, I talked about what I will be discussing, and that is stereotypes that are put onto Black people, what these stereotypes are, and how these stereotypes can affect the victims of them, as well as where in global media they are said and portrayed in cultural discourse analysis and stereotyping framework. For my mini literature review, I discussed 4 articles that touched on and discussed the subject of Black stereotypes, some with real-life events that have occurred and others that talked about the history of these stereotypes as well. For my first article, this talked about Black-owned businesses and their issues with obtaining liquor license for late hours of the night. The council believed that it would cause violence and crime as well as disorder due to the population of Black people in that area, basically saying that Black people are a threat and mixed with alcohol at late hours of the night would cause trouble just because of their skin color. For my second article, it talked about the way police view Black men as a threat. And for this, it talked about how they gave participants 2 cases of arrest, with one being a white man and one being a Black man, without telling them at first. And then they saw that racial prejudice increased when the race of the victim was revealed, and they saw which cases involved a white man and a Black man. Again, this is exemplifying the stereotype of a Black man being more of a threat, and because of this, it has caused more Black people to be arrested and killed by police officers. And there have been many examples of this in global media throughout the news and everything of that sorts. For my third article, this talked about Black students and how they can be stereotyped as less educated than other races. Black students have been recorded to follow suit in these labeled stereotypes and doubting their own academic abilities based off of what they've been told. It's shown that if a Black student takes a test surrounded by white students, they are more likely to stress out about it, have anxiety, and fail. This stereotype is Black people being less educated or, in a sense, dumber than a white person or other races that are stereotyped as smart. And for my fourth and last article, I talked about the dehumanization stereotype of Black people. This has been seen in TV shows and movies, and they have been described or portrayed as clowns or crooks, while a white person would be portrayed as your average guy with no underlining motive of humor or making fun. This takes away from Black people being seen as humans or equals. When watching this, Black people's minds can be warped into thinking that this is all that they are, and they're seeing their community as like this in global media, so they think that they need to follow suit. For methodology and description, when I was choosing my stereotypes, I based my decision off of what I've seen most in global media and in real life. For my research, I made sure to find articles that discuss the Black community's oppression and the effects that these stereotypes can have on them. In Black populated communities, it is usually Black men that are being stereotyped. The relationship people outside of the Black race have with them is very off-putting and judgmental. They're called dangerous and a threat, and I think that global media and its representation of Black people in the past, and currently as well, are to blame for this. Cultural discourse analysis. So this is how is communication shaped as a cultural practice, looking into communication in different ethnic settings to see how it differs. It has 5 modes. Theoretical, which is coming up with a theory to help make the question at hand get analyzed. Descriptive, which is what actually has happened in real life with data and records to back it up. For interpretive, that is looking at communication and its figures out which part of it are important in the process, such as what needs to be known and understood. Comparative is the comparison of different communication styles to see what's alike and what's different about them and why. And lastly, critical is the analyst observes the ethics of communication, basically meaning that with this certain communication practice, the morals and principles are looked at and analyzed. For my personhood analysis, I chose a black person for my personhood. For radiance, it would be a black person, and descriptive mode, I chose an adult black man. Interpretive mode is they are seen as violence and a threat to society, and relating is how people view this man before being in communication with him. Acting is he would be living in a normal day, going about his life, but knowing that trouble could come for him if he runs into a police officer or the wrong judgmental person. Feeling is oppressed and judged without reason, and dwelling is a stereotypes put onto black men. For my critical analysis, I said that if this male wasn't being stereotyped, he would be seen as an average man. There are a lot of negatives and positives that go into this. For negatives, an adult black man can be held back from a lot of things he would like to do or accomplish because of his skin color. The effects that these stereotypes can have on someone's mental health can also take an enormous toll on how they see themselves along with their self-worth. If they live up to the stereotypes because that is all they see themselves as, that would be negative in improving the injustice. The positives that go along with this are the changes to defy the odds and show people who stereotype black men that everyone's not the same. Just because of their skin color does not mean that they are going to be violent towards you or not graduate because people view the black community as uneducated or that they are up to no good at all times. Synthesis. So I think with the proper education on this topic and talking about these stereotypes and the issues, if they're brought up more to the public, it can help change the minds of those who view black people through these certain stereotypes before communication. Global media can help with spreading awareness through television, social media, along with people speaking out on this topic to the public. With that being said, in the past few years there have been protests and people fighting for the rights of the black community, along with many allies of other races joining in to end this injustice. For my conclusion, I said that there is a lot to learn from these stereotypes and how they affect many lives along with the impact of the stereotype in general. Global media is a big factor in where these stereotypes come from, whether it's in television, the news, the newspaper, or the movies. The dehumanization, police brutality, violent assumptions, blackface, and the idea that black people are uneducated is presented through these forms of global media, whether we notice it or not. With work and effort, I believe that we can change the view and ideas put into these stereotypes and help people view the black community as equals. It has been happening more and more as the years go on, but there is still work to be done. And that is my works cited.